Good morning. I think it's time to do another video. This video is going to be completely different. We're switching it up. I haven't done a video like this yet. I didn't think that this was part of the I need to say this. There's a lot of things in this world that I consider to be common sense, but maybe not. So, this morning I want to talk to you about what I can see. Nothing more, nothing less. Just my opinion, like everything else on this page. Just the philosophy behind the philosophy of why I even consider philosophy worth thinking about. I want to tell you what I see when I see you. And you can be anyone that wants to insert themselves into the picture. The only thing you can't do is exclude yourself from my words. Because this is what I see. I see a world with amazing human beings. I don't see social standing. I don't see fear. I understand fear, but I don't see fear. I just see mistakes. And the thing is, it's really weird because in school they punish you, if you couldn't pass the standardized testing and memorize the answers. School is nothing more than a memory test. But what about the rest of it? What about that person that talked down to you in sixth grade? What about that bully that picked on you in ninth grade? What about your parents that were alcoholic, abusive? What about it? What about all the good life that you had? That you still made all those decisions that now you're a version of yourself that you don't understand. I see that. So I don't ever judge people because I understand the limitations of my own understanding. I can't know for sure what your life story looks like, but I can see the potential within you. It doesn't matter to me what you did yesterday. I don't care if you killed someone yesterday. I don't care if you're promiscuous. I don't care if you did drugs. I don't care if you're mean or violent or rude. You had to be taught that. And of course, there's never that one person, right? Like we can say something traumatizes, but then we made all our own decisions. And now here we are. And you see yourself as a sum total of your decisions. I still look at human beings as limitless potential. There's no getting around it for me. There's no other way for me to perceive it. There is no end result. There's learned behaviors. In the same way that you can learn bad behaviors, the same way you can learn escapism, the same way that you can learn how to do self-destructive behaviors, the end result is you can also be taught what it's like to step out of that. Anyone can learn this. There's no prerequisite, there's no race, religion, or sexual orientation that in any way, shape, or form dictates this ability. It's just the recognition. That doesn't sound right. Shouldn't have got stoned. It's the understanding that you can learn more. You can teach an old dog new tricks, as it were. So that's what I see. So I've been friends with so many people in my life from so many different walks of life. I just walk around seeing people's potential. And in my mind, because everybody is limitless, that the next person I meet could be the friend I never knew I needed for the rest of my life. The woman I met could be my wife and I never knew the whole time. there's no there's no limit, only my perception. I think it's why I never could be beat in life. No matter how you view me or how you think, which I find perfectly acceptable, you're on your own journey, I still see the limitless potential within you. The idea of needing to control that or be in charge of it or dictate how anybody else feels or thinks, to me, that's blasphemy. Because we can all agree at this point that my God is free will, yes? And the concept of God, I've always found funny. A little blip in our conversation, as it were. For us to understand the concept of God, we have to limit our understanding. So, if God's real, the idea we'd have a concept of what God actually was would by default mean it wasn't God. And I know that's really hard to wrap your mind around, but just consider it. You don't have to agree with me. We all have different learned behaviors, do we not? But I thought it was really important to sit down and talk with you guys this morning. I thought that you needed to hear directly from me exactly how I feel, how I'm thinking, what I'm thinking about. And honestly, I'm sitting here in awe, so very proud that the potential in the world has not decreased at all. Proud of it. Not because I created it, because I understand that it exists and I'm grateful for it. And being grateful for something that exists, I'm proud to be part of it. In what capacity? Who do you think you are? I'm just some asshole on the internet with a face tattoo. Who thinks deeply? Who cares? The relevance of that is only in your own perception, not mine. I've never thought that someone I met was any more than who they showed me that they were. I don't add extra things in. You don't get accolades. And unless there's a few human actions that absolutely disqualify you from probably figuring it out this lifetime, I'm accepting of everyone. Have you hurt women and kids? Nope. Someone taught you some learned behaviors, and you're part of a vicious chain in the world that needs to be unlearned. Not fought against, don't need to kill you, but it must be untaught. My perception of that is the only way to unteach is to show an alternative method that works better. Here is option number 2. And number 3 and number 4 and number 1000 if you need it. I've always got an idea, even if it's not the best. But there's no judgment in my space. To me, every day I wake up and the opportunity for everything in my life to shift and who's in my life and where I live, absolutely everything that I currently experience on a daily basis, it's all subject to change. Any day it could change. Any day could be a new experience. Any day could be a decision that some random person made in the world, and now I have a new random person in my life. That's possible any day of the week, and that person could be everything from the biggest life lesson I ever needed to learn to the person that's going to love me for the rest of my life. There's no limit on the possibilities. Are those extremes? It depends on how you view the world. Nuclear war to me seems extreme. Hating people, that seems extreme. Having a wonderful, beautiful, magical, random miracle happen in my life, that's commonplace. And so, like, if you've watched my page, I know some of it's really deep. In fact, all of it is. I sucked you down my rabbit hole. You're sitting around the campfire in Wonderland. I get it. And you want to argue. But how do you argue with somebody that just accepts you for who you are? What kind of hate can you muster up in that old heart of yours for someone who thinks you have an amazing heart and lots of love locked inside of it? Is it how I look? Is it the truth that I speak? I don't know. But 98.9% of everyone that's ever watched my videos hasn't spoken to me. They haven't argued with me. They haven't brought me down. There's been points of contention, but only through misunderstanding. The world I live in, you're all human beings, every one of you. And if taught correctly, could lead humanity in a totally different direction. Good, bad, and different. Nah, that's judgment. But in a different direction, anyone's capable of being the leader. Anyone's capable of changing the world. Everyone's capable of creating. Every one of you. From the bottom of the barrel to all the way at the top. And it's because you think. The only war I see in the world is on our thinking. We're organic beings. We break down and die. But what we experience and what we create while we're alive, that's the battleground. That's the war. That's the truth that they don't want spoken. That you are good enough. That you matter. That you are needed. This idea of like conscious development. Has anybody ever stopped to think the fact that even if one person starts to think differently, it requires other people taking it further than that person could think for it to continue? Has anyone stopped to consider that you yourself, wherever you are and whatever you do in life, is just as important as whatever I'm doing? I live life without fear. Yeah, I got headaches. Yeah, I got problems. But those are things that are happening to me based on other people's decisions. I stopped receiving bad karma for my own decisions many, many years ago. And I've watched so many people decide to think and act a certain way. But you don't have to. You're still limitless. You still have unlimited potential. You still have 0 point energy. And just because you act a certain way, because you think a certain way, because you feel a certain way, it doesn't exclude you from the fact that that's only one way to think and act and feel. It's completely ridiculously responsible of me to simply state that you're less than you are only because you decide to be. And anything you want to change in your life, you can. And you will. If it's an inconvenience, if it's a problem, if it's an issue that doesn't allow you to sit still in whoever you are, the change is inevitable. The only consistent is change. The only variable worth measuring is change. Right now, they're talking about changing math because we use flat planes for math when everything's at a curvature. No matter where you're at in math, you suddenly go, what did he just say? Everything's round and in orbit. Our math doesn't reflect that. Not our great scientists, not our, and they predicted things using a flat scale, but they've never been able to take their flat scale model and account for the curve. And the curve is that you're limitless. That's it. They can AI and pattern recognition and do everything in their power, but you're limitless, whoever you are. And you know it now because someone told you. And they can't take it from you now. They can lie to you and tell you things that you're supposed to believe because of these social constructs, and you won't be who you are if people think differently about you. But you're infected now. Now you've seen the face of a person that thinks you're limitless. You've clearly heard the words communicated in a way that you can't deny. Somewhere deep down there in your soul, you matter. There's somebody in the world actually rooting for you. And we've never met. And I'm not all love and light. Not in any way, shape, or form. However, I don't lie to myself and say I'm the only limitless person here on this world. I don't lie to myself and say all the years of self therapy and self hypnosis and learning different techniques and trials and tribulations and like, yeah, it sucked. But I'm not better than you. I'm not built differently. They say an addict only stops doing drugs when they've had enough. When inside they've had enough. And they walk away, not knowing, just knowing that they hate that enough that they're willing to let the universe put something else in their life. Self creation. And usually, when an addict relapses, it's because they were using in the first place for escapism from what hurt. So I see limitless potential only limited by learned behaviors. And all I think is it takes a smile and a little encouragement for you to see it and decide whether or not it's who you really are. Because I don't see it in you. You can be mean to me, talk shit, do all kinds of negative things. But in my mind, it's just you wanting to be taught. You coming into my space and asking for healing. And I always accept those kind of chores. Always. Because I think quick enough to be able to respond to them. I speak clearly enough to be able to communicate what I see about them. Is my opinion right? I think it is. And my life reflects that it is. I think that you're limitless. And every time somebody realizes that they're limitless, there's more people like me. There's a bigger movement. There's more conversation. And what's funny about this conversation is no one can lead it. No one can dictate it. What's happened is truth is loose. What we're experiencing right now is individual truths being used in a battlefield against universal truths. And individual truths are losing at an alarming rate. That's a one-sided war. And what's weird is in being limitless, there isn't even a side. There's only understanding. There isn't a battlefield. There's groups of people speaking to each other. There isn't an instant gratification conclusion. There's 20 years of conversation needed to even start to understand and identify what the learned behaviors were and how they existed and why. And then forgiveness of oneself for them existing. That's all. And then lots of cool things. If you didn't have to worry about making sure you had a place to sleep and something to eat and those social standing things that you need to own, if all of that was irrelevant, who would you be? I didn't mean to show you the edge of your box, but you can see it now. Who would you be if you didn't have these fears? If you weren't taught to run on a clock, who would you be? And an understanding that who you could be is who you could be, the game changes. And as the game changes, there's only going to be more winners.